If you are over the age of 60 and keep a significant amount of cash at home, there is a question you should ask yourself tonight. What would happen if that money disappeared? Not next year, not someday, tonight. Many retirees believe cash at home provides safety. It feels immediate, accessible, private. Unlike money in a bank account, cash can be seen, touched, counted, and stored exactly where the owner chooses. And after decades of economic uncertainty, banking crises, identity theft, scams, and rising distrust in financial institutions, it is not difficult to understand why so many older Americans prefer to keep at least part of their savings within arm's reach. But there is a problem. The risks associated with cash at home are often misunderstood. Most people focus on theft. They imagine a burglar breaking into a house. They imagine a missing envelope, a stolen safe, a robbery. Yet theft is only one of several dangers. In many cases, the greatest threat is not a criminal. It is time. Inflation, forgetfulness, family confusion, medical emergencies, or a financial system that increasingly depends on documentation and electronic records. Every year, millions of dollars in cash savings quietly disappear from the financial lives of Americans, not because markets crash, but because cash stored outside the banking system leaves no paper trail, earns no interest, and can become extremely difficult to recover when something unexpected happens. Consider a common retirement scenario. A widow keeps $15,000 in cash hidden inside her home. The money is intended for emergencies. Years pass. A hospitalization occurs. Family members begin helping manage finances. Eventually, someone discovers there was supposed to be cash set aside. But where? Was it moved? Was it spent? Was it misplaced? Was it forgotten? No bank statement exists. No account record exists. No transaction history exists. The money may still be there, or it may be gone forever. And that is only one example. Today we are going to examine 4 risks that many retirees never consider when storing cash at home. First, the silent erosion caused by inflation. Second, the documentation problem that emerges during medical emergencies, estate settlements, and family transitions. Third, the banking and reporting misconceptions that cause many retirees to make costly mistakes. And finally, the practical amount of cash that should remain accessible versus the amount that may be better protected elsewhere. Because the goal is not to eliminate cash. The goal is to make sure that money remains available when it is actually needed. And for many retirees, the greatest financial danger is not losing money in the stock market. It is believing cash hidden at home is safer than it really is. The first risk is inflation. And unlike theft, inflation does not arrive all at once. It works quietly, patiently, year after year. A retiree who keeps $20,000 hidden inside a safe may believe the money is protected because the dollar amount never changes. $20,000 remains $20,000. The problem is that purchasing power does change. Imagine inflation averaging just 3% per year. That sounds modest. Many retirees would consider that a normal economic environment. But after 10 years, the purchasing power of that $20,000 falls significantly. The money still exists, the bills are still there. Yet the ability of those bills to pay for groceries, utilities, insurance, medical expenses, home repairs, and everyday living costs steadily declines. This is one of the great financial illusions of retirement. People see the number. They do not see the purchasing power. And over a retirement that may last 20 or 30 years, the difference becomes substantial. The second risk is what financial planners often call the documentation problem. During healthy years, this risk seems unimportant. But retirement planning is not built around ideal circumstances. It is built around unexpected circumstances. Suppose a retiree experiences a medical emergency. An adult child begins helping with finances. Bills must be paid. Accounts must be located. Assets must be identified. Bank accounts are relatively easy to find. Brokerage accounts produce statements. Retirement accounts generate tax documents. Social Security benefits leave records. Cash hidden inside a house leaves none. Family members may not know it exists. They may know it exists but not know where. Or multiple family members may remember different amounts. Suddenly, a financial asset becomes a mystery. This problem becomes even larger during estate settlement. Executors are trained to locate documented assets. Cash hidden in furniture, safes, closets, envelopes, storage containers, books, or boxes often falls completely outside the normal process. The result is surprisingly common. Money is forgotten. Money is misplaced. Money is never claimed. And because there is no formal record, proving ownership becomes difficult. The third risk involves security itself. Most people immediately think of burglary. That risk is real. But security failures occur in many forms. House fires, floods, storm damage, accidental disposal, home renovations, moves, memory decline. The common factor is simple. Cash has no recovery mechanism. If a debit card is stolen, it can often be canceled. If a bank account is compromised, records exist. If a brokerage statement disappears, another copy can be obtained. Cash offers no such protection. Once it is gone, recovery is often impossible. This is why many professional financial planners distinguish between emergency cash and long-term stored cash. Emergency cash serves a purpose. Large amounts of undocumented cash stored indefinitely create a different category of risk. The fourth risk is perhaps the most misunderstood. It is not about losing the cash. It is about what happens when that cash eventually returns to the financial system. Many retirees mistakenly believe that depositing cash automatically creates problems. That is not true. Legitimate cash deposits are legal. Legitimate withdrawals are legal. The problem occurs when people become overly concerned about reporting requirements and begin changing their behavior in ways that create unnecessary complications. Federal reporting rules exist for certain large cash transactions. Banks routinely follow these rules. For ordinary citizens conducting legitimate transactions, the reports themselves are generally not a problem. The danger arises when people intentionally structure deposits or withdrawals to avoid reporting thresholds. A retiree may think, "I'll just make several smaller deposits," or "I'll keep each transaction under the reporting amount." Unfortunately, that behavior can attract more attention than simply completing the legitimate transaction honestly. In other words, the attempt to avoid scrutiny may create the scrutiny. That is why financial professionals consistently recommend transparency. If the money is legitimate, allow the institution to process the transaction according to established rules. Do not create patterns that appear unusual. What makes these four risks dangerous is that none of them feel urgent. A retiree does not wake up one morning and suddenly lose purchasing power. Documentation problems develop slowly. Security vulnerabilities remain invisible until something happens. Reporting misunderstandings often sit unnoticed for years. That is why cash at home feels safe. The risks are delayed. And delayed risks are often the hardest risks to recognize. Which brings us to the most important question of all. If keeping large amounts of cash at home creates these problems, how much cash should a retiree actually keep available? And what practical steps can be taken this week to protect both access and security without sacrificing peace of mind? By now, one conclusion should be clear. The goal is not to eliminate cash. Cash serves an important purpose in retirement. The goal is to keep the right amount of cash in the right place. Because there is a major difference between emergency access and long-term storage. Many retirees treat these as the same thing. They are not. Emergency cash is money intended for immediate needs. A power outage, a storm, a temporary banking disruption, unexpected travel, medical expenses. A short-term situation where quick access matters. For many households, keeping a modest amount of cash available for these situations is entirely reasonable. The problem begins when emergency cash slowly becomes a large hidden savings account. $10,000 becomes $15,000. $15,000 becomes $25,000. $25,000 becomes $50,000. Years pass, and eventually a substantial portion of retirement savings is sitting outside the financial system, earning nothing, generating no records, and creating risks that were never intended. So what should retirees do? Start with a simple inventory. Make a list of every location where cash is stored, not just the primary location, every location. The safe, the lockbox, the desk drawer, the filing cabinet, the emergency envelope, the spare hiding place that seemed like a good idea 10 years ago? Many retirees are surprised by the total once everything is added together. The second step is documentation. This does not mean publicly revealing your finances. It means creating a private record. A trusted family member, executor, or financial power of attorney should know that emergency cash exists and understand how to locate it if an emergency occurs. One of the most common estate planning mistakes is assuming someone else will somehow know where everything is. In many cases, they do not. The third step is evaluating how much cash is actually necessary. Ask a practical question. If my bank was temporarily unavailable for several days, how much cash would I realistically need? The answer is usually far smaller than most people imagine. The purpose of emergency cash is short-term access, not decades-long storage. The fourth step is reviewing dormant accounts. The reference transcript highlights a risk many retirees overlook. Accounts left untouched for long periods can eventually become subject to state unclaimed property procedures. The solution is remarkably simple. At least once per year, review every account. Log in, check balances, verify contact information, create legitimate account activity when necessary. A few minutes of attention can prevent months of frustration later. The fifth step is preparing for large cash needs before they become urgent. Many retirees still assume they can walk into any branch and immediately withdraw large amounts of cash. Sometimes they can. Sometimes they cannot. Branch policies vary. Cash inventories vary. Preparation matters. If a major purchase is approaching, contact the institution beforehand. A simple phone call can eliminate unnecessary delays. And finally, do not allow fear to dictate financial decisions. Fear causes people to hide money without a plan. Fear causes people to distrust documentation. Fear causes people to avoid banks entirely. But retirement security is built on organization, not secrecy. It is built on preparation, not panic. The most financially secure retirees are rarely the ones hiding the largest amounts of cash. They are the ones who know exactly where their assets are, how those assets are protected, and how those assets can be accessed when needed. That is the real lesson of today's discussion. Cash is a tool, not a strategy. A small emergency reserve can provide peace of mind. But large amounts of undocumented cash can create problems that many retirees never anticipate until it is too late. As always, this discussion is intended for educational purposes only and should not be considered legal, tax, banking, or financial advice. Individual circumstances vary, and retirees should consult qualified professionals regarding their specific situation. For now, take 30 minutes this week and review your own cash plan. Know where your money is. Know who can access it if necessary. Know how it will be protected. Because the safest retirement is not built on hiding money. It is built on making sure the money you worked a lifetime to earn remains available, documented, and protected when you need it most. Thank you for watching. Stay informed, stay prepared, and above all, make sure your money is working for you, not quietly creating risks you never intended to take.